morning. I hope you don't feel as rough as I look, because yeah, it was late yesterday night, and I'd blame Morten for anything really. It doesn't really matter what. I'm going to talk today about images on the web, and that's because I don't do much with Drupal, but I didn't do much with PHP for a long time as well. I wanted to announce that Drupal is switching to Node, and you can tweet about this, and Morten has to fix it then. No, it won't. I just want to talk more about a problem that we have with images on the web, that we are actually creating a web that is far too fat and far too obese and far too slow to be exciting for people, and especially for the next people that are coming on the web. Because the next growth that is happening right now is not where we are, or in America, or in England, but it's actually in markets where people will have smartphones as their first access to the internet, and we clog up the internet with massive images of all kind of stuff, and a lot of times it's just laziness or not understanding what you could do with images and what tools are out there. So there's going to be a few tools that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to explain to you how to use them. Well, people say like a picture says more than 1,000 words, and it's just such a cliche that I didn't want to use it any longer. But it sadly enough is the case. A lot of times when you put a nice picture on something, it's much easier for people to understand. It's much more exciting. When you, for example, have a blog post and you have an image in there, and on Twitter it shows this, the photo under your tweet, a lot more people retweet it, a lot more people favorite it. People want something there. What's going on with my image? And a lot of us are visual thinkers. We actually think in images, and we understand in images, and we need to have an image shown to us to understand a certain concept. And that's what we do. We just like painting things, we like explaining things, and we like giving pictures to people. The problem is that with the selfie world that we have, and with the great images and photos that we have on our machines, we upload huge images onto the web and don't even resize them, because our connections are fast enough. We're on a 4G, 5G, we are on a 100 megabit at home, or 250 megabit or whatever. And then we wonder when people are not looking at our stuff. And when you see, for example, things like Imager and the amount of traffic that an animated GIF gets each day, and I'm like, oh my God, I remember when I paid per megabyte to go online. Or when you are roaming. The other day I was in Albania, and my SIM card in England was £12 per megabyte. So that's like means the average website is the price of a cinema ticket. So it better be as exciting to see a movie to go to your website, or otherwise I will be angry about you. And images have more information in them that we normally see. This is just me being smug in the sun and being roasting at Google I/O. But you can see from the headband that it was Google I/O if you were there already. You could think I'm actually going on a trip here with a balloon, but it's actually Google Loon in the background. That's the thing that they did for Africa and other countries where they bring connectivity, but with balloons to people. So the description of the image should tell people much, much more what we have there. And that's our biggest problem with accessibility on the web, that people just don't describe their images. They just put an image in there and make the story around the image. And when you can't see the image, like when you're blind or it hasn't been loaded, a lot of stuff gets lost. And we worry about that. The problem is that we've become picture mad on the web. We just love uploading pictures, and we have more and more. It cracks me up when we, for example, at Google, with the OneDrive, we said like, it's not unlimited anymore, it's now 10 gigabyte or something like that. And people are like, oh my God, where do I upload all my photos? And you're like, who puts 10 gigabyte of photos online? You never look through that stuff again. On your hard drive you do, but yeah, we want more, and we want to keep it forever, so that's the important part. The average website, which you can look up at httparchive.org, is 2.2 megabyte. And what the hell went wrong there? You know, this is text, this is images, and this is some JavaScript. And it's 1.4 megabyte of images. That's the average website. That's not the really offensive ones. I've seen like 30 megabyte, 50 megabyte websites. But these are the average ones. And we have 1.4 megabyte of images in each of these pages. And I'm quite sure that there's no alternative text for those, there's no fallback image for those, and a lot of times even the layout doesn't make any sense if the images haven't been loaded. And that's something we should be doing better, because it's not helping anybody right now. I call this inspirational obesity. We just put more and more stuff on the web because we're on fast connections and great computers, and for us it looks great. Oh, look at that parallax scroll. And then you go on your phone, you're like, look at that parallax jiggle, and like the phone heats up that you can fry an egg on the back, and yeah, great, you had a parallax scrolling website, thanks very much. And yeah, I've been at the awards show, for example, and all the winning sites were like huge images, massive hero images and massive galleries, and then you look at the statistics and people don't click through galleries. Like with the carousels, people just don't use them. So every time one of your clients gets very excited about this because everybody wants to see the About Us section with our CEO in his garden and his wife and his children and his dog, nobody needs that crap. Like, just make sure that you have the most important thing first in there. My favorite is restaurant websites. When you go there and he's like, here's a video of our chef. And you're like, I just want to know where they are, if you're open, and what food you have, and how much it costs, and if I can order it online. And these are the things they always hide somewhere. You know, it's like supermarkets. When you get like the 3 cheap things per day, they hide it all in all the supermarkets where you have to see all of it. So it seems like we're doing that with information right now because we're too excited about our own designs, about our own pictures, and not about the use case of the end user coming to our website. Give them what they come for, then show them the beautiful things, and please don't let them click through like 12 images before they get somewhere. We used to have flash tunnels. Nowadays we do it with JavaScript. It's the same thing, but it's as annoying. So why does it happen? Why do we do these kind of things, and why do we keep running into the same mistake of overburdening the user with our designs? Because we love it and we want them to see it. Well, mobile tablets and great hardware and fast connection is what we have. As I said before, because I'm not rehearsing my slides, we have massive computers, we have great connectivity. For us, it's never a problem. So what you really, really need to do with everything that you build on the web, make a shitty connection. Buy a terrible phone with a 3G, try to connect here to this wireless, look it up, and you will realize that it's not as easy as it looks on your main computer. There's in Facebook, they're doing 2G Tuesdays, where basically they limit the connectivity of their computers to a 2G speed for every Tuesday, so they can test Facebook how it looks on a very, very bad connection. And that's a very important step to do. A lot of developer tools and browsers allow you to actually limit your connection and also simulate flaky connections. There's a lot of proxy browsers and these kind of things out there to do it as well. The bigger problem is that maintenance is where everything goes pear-shaped. We do everything right. We package our JavaScript up, we make our CSS really easy and small and to read, and then we give it up to somebody, and the end user then uploads BMP files or like JPEGs that are uncompressed and puts images in there that are like 6,000 pixels and resizes them to 200 pixels because we allow them to do that in our what you see is what you get editors. And we never talk about this. There's no conferences about maintenance tools. There's no conferences about the content management part of content management systems. Because people who do maintenance of websites are the underpaid ones. These are the people that just like, nobody wants to do this, so we give it to somebody who just puts content in there. And that's when our web becomes terrible, and we actually remove it from our CV 2 months later after doing it, so because we don't want to be connected with it any longer. So 1.4 megabyte of images, how does that happen? I mean, this is a lot of data. This is a lot of information, and most of the time it's just because of a huge error image or something like that. The biggest one is wrong file formats. The amount of PNGs that I see on the web, because a screenshot on a Mac is always a PNG, and that have transparency in them, although there opacity in them, although there is no opacity in the image whatsoever, that should be a JPEG, is immense. Then you see like people saving videos as a GIF, and then the GIF connected back to a video. And we get like 50 meg animated GIFs, and you're like, why is that not a video? This could be like 100K if you just convert it on the fly. And I've seen BMPs still in the wild, strangely enough. People upload things, you know when you get clients and like, can you send us a logo? Yeah, sure, here's a Word document with the logo embedded in it. And you just want to go and kick that dog or something. Delivering scaled high-res images to everybody, like, oh my God, we go to the client, we show it on an iPad or on a Retina display, it has to have the best quality ever, and then we just put this in the page, and everybody gets that high-res image, no matter if they're on a 320 phone or if they're on a really bad old computer in 800 by 600 resolution. But because as designers, we always think like the best quality one is the one that should go out there, because you don't start with bad quality imagery. But we should never send an image that is too big to a device that cannot display it. Why would we do this? This is just us breaking the contract with our end users. No automated conversion and optimization steps. A lot of times, we do it on building the website at the beginning, but in a content management tool, a lot of times you don't turn on the optimization things that when people upload an image, it automatically gets converted into smaller ones and optimized versions, and I'm going to show some tools that you can use for that kind of stuff. but a lot of times people even turn off the megabytes. Like I've seen my own WordPress, for example, allows me no picture more than 1 megabyte because I limited myself to that to remind myself that it should be done. And clients always like, yeah, 20 megabyte JPEG, not a problem. You're like, why did you upload this? Well, it looked fast, so it's not a problem at all. And a hero image instead of text content. I blame Kickstarter for this. You know, as soon as we, Kickstarter started with great descriptions of the products that they want to have, and then the first one made this great video, and then everybody just does videos now, and everybody just does this great hero image, and then you scroll down for like 3 screens, then you got 3 paragraphs next to each other, then you scroll down, and you got like 2 bullet points, then you scroll down, you got a carousel, and then you scroll down, you select Made with Love in San Francisco. And this is how every website looks right now. And because we're creative, because we all look the same. It's wonderful. And it's, I love Medium as well, when you got these massive images of like a houseboat and somebody's talking about JavaScript patterns. You're like, why is that image there? Well, because that's how Medium looks. This is much more beautiful. Isn't it a great picture? And I'm like, it has nothing to do with the story. Why do you have this thing there? Oh, well, it was fast. We need to work on this right now, because right now there's a massive change happening with people coming on the web that never been on the web before, and they're happy to have the web as a platform. In some countries, Facebook is the internet. They don't even know that the other internet exists because you can buy phones that have Facebook installed on them, and the data plan is outside of Facebook, whereas like anything you do in the browser, you have to pay a lot of money for. And I think that's sad. Facebook should not be the internet, because sooner or later it will go the way we don't want it to go. It can be taken down by somebody. It can turn into something terrible. We never know. And the internet is an open, decentralized platform that we should support. The web world is much bigger than our environment, and growth happens outside of it. The growth numbers, when you see like the GDP, what people actually earn in countries and how much they can afford, it's always the countries that are the upcoming countries, India, Bangladesh, Africa, all the places we never been to and we never care much about, but we understand that there's millions and millions of people that will go online there, and they will go online with mobile devices and not with desktop computers or laptops, because these things are unaffordable there, whereas phones are affordable to a degree. There's surgical solutions for this. A lot of people in China and Africa and India and Bangladesh are using proxy browsers. So there's like the UC browser or Opera Mini, or there's also the Chrome Turbo. What those browsers do is take your wonderfully crafted website and strip everything out that it doesn't think it's necessary. So it's, when your JavaScript is more than 1.2K, it actually just deletes the rest of it. It actually minifies your HTML, puts the CSS inside the HTML, the JavaScript inside the HTML, so it's one HTTP request, and even better, it optimizes all the images down to 20% quality. So no matter what you think your website is beautifully looking, it's a mess of JPEG are coming at the other side of it. And that's okay, because in essence it means that's the only way for people in these countries to access your content. So make sure that you're not dependent on these wonderfully beautiful graphics, like text as JPEG, for example, downsampled with one of those proxy browsers would be completely unreadable, and it's a shit idea from the very beginning, but people keep doing it because font faces, oh my god, our company font should be in there as well. And if you haven't tried Opera Mini or you haven't tried anything of those, try them out. It's very, very interesting to see. Even for you, when you go somewhere else in another country and you do roaming, it's actually worth your while not to pay for the traffic that you should not have. Ad blocking does another thing like that. But proxy browsing is a big, big thing, and we just never understand it because we don't use them here. There's great talks by Bruce Lawson from Opera, and Tim Cadlech from Akamai gave a really good talk about proxy browsers at Frontiers this year, so look these up, they're really amazing. So here's some things we can do to help those new users that we don't even know about yet, and also every other user, because we're not optimizing our images properly. So the problems. We have huge images for everybody because we upload one image and display it. We have unoptimized images, no alternative content of the images, and no training or incentive to add content in CMS. Like the people who actually use the CMS never talk to us about optimization of images. They don't know. They just upload an image that they get as an attachment in an email that somebody took with a 20-megapixel camera. That's what they do. We don't do training for people who maintain our stuff. We do training for our DevOps people and for basically the sales people who actually do SEO and all kinds of stuff around them. But the people maintaining them, there's no training for these people because it's boring. Our arsenal. Better browsers with responsive image support. They're here. Automated lossless image optimization tools, file-level access to images to extract metadata, and I'm going through these all bit by bit now. Scripting solutions to offer alternative content. Sometimes you don't need the image, but you should have some fallback, and the fallback is sometimes hard to automate. Cloud services, machine learning APIs for intelligent resizing, and I'm going to finish on that one because that's what I'm getting very excited about right now. And machine learning for tagging. So the first thing is responsive image support. Responsive design has been around for a long, long time, and we've been, I'm already getting tired of people saying the same things over and over again. The problem was that browsers, until like last year, didn't support picture elements. And picture element is the absolute most amazing thing we actually put in the browser for the problems that we're talking about here, because a picture element with media queries inside loads the image for the form factor and only that image and none of the others. What we, instead of us doing a JavaScript and trying to read out the size or test if it's a mobile browser, the picture element does these things automatically for us, and it's compatible with the video element. The video element always did that, where you put the video in there in like fast, high resolution, mid resolution, low resolution, and depending on what size it was, it loaded only one of the videos. With images, we didn't do that. Instead, we had source set and all these kind of things. It's kind of confusing. The problem with media queries is, and I blogged about this, what is it, like 4 years ago? The problem with media queries is that they load everything. So if you're in your CSS, you have a media query and you have images for each of them in there. The browser already loads all these images and then only applies one of them. It doesn't do it the other way around. It doesn't see which one matches and then loads that one. It shows just all of them every single time. And that is by design. A lot of, I talked to the Chrome people and the Safari people why we did it that way. It's just performance. We just, every image in the CSS, we preload because we most likely need it. And with media queries weren't there when we started optimizing CSS already, so we had a way in the browser to do that. There is a way around. I've written this blog post about it as well, because most people don't know that there's match media in JavaScript. Match media is the same as media queries in CSS, you just do it in JavaScript. You can use the same queries, and then you can load the images on demand rather than just in your CSS. But it also means that your images are now dependent on JavaScript, which is probably not something that you don't want to have. That's why the picture element makes much more sense. Browsers did change a lot. They're evergreen, capable, and open, and that's all browsers. I joined Microsoft to kill Internet Explorer. I said that in my job interview, and they still didn't fire me. And we don't support these old browsers any longer in the company that makes the browser. So whenever your clients are all like, oh yeah, we got to do like the really old browsers, okay, you support those browsers. You don't do work for them. These browsers are retired. They should be in the park feeding the ducks and not annoy people on the internet any longer, but sadly enough they do. So when it comes to supporting old Internet Explorer and these kind of things, give it a bit of CSS, give it HTML, don't bother with JavaScript. Don't give it animations, don't give it anything heavy that you're not going to test anyways. I always like it when people use polyfills and libraries and say like, hey, we're supporting Internet Explorer 8. Do you test in it? Nah. So you don't support it then. You just hope you support it and the library does it for you. So don't bother with that. And also when you interview people who have to use these browsers, they're not used to beauty. Don't confuse them with beautiful things. Just give them form fields, that's what they're happy with. It's totally fine. There's nothing worse than a website that doesn't work. But a website that looks shit and still works is fine. That's totally okay. You should not be feeling bad about delivering something very, very basic to old browsers if you deliver something good for browsers that are capable and something useful for people on a mobile device, because that's the more important thing to optimize for right now, rather than an old browser that shouldn't be used any longer. And yeah, Microsoft Edge is an open browser now as well. We got a bug tracker, we've got an issue tracker, we've got, it's not open source yet, but the JavaScript engine is open source, so a lot of the stuff is available. There's no black hole company anymore where the browser does random things and we don't know why. Well, there's one of them, but we all know who they are. Well, I mean, sorry. It's a great time to change our ways. If you think about it, the browsers that are evergreen right now, even on Android, on older Android devices as well, they're great. So don't think in ways that we did like 10 years ago. Don't think in browsers, think in capabilities. Always think about like, I test for the capability, and if the browser can't do it, then I don't apply it. Done. I don't need to simulate modern technology in older environments. That's just not making any sense to me. Picture element and source set, as I said, is amazing for this. So think about that whenever you do something. The support is amazing. Internet Explorer doesn't support it. Edge and others support it as well. There's, of course, a polyfill by the filament group if you want to use it for older Internet Explorer 11 and these kind of things as well. But if you just use a picture element and you use an image inside it as a fallback, then Internet Explorer 11 will just show that one image. So make that an okay size and everybody will be happy. Much like Zoe's talk yesterday about Flexbox, don't just say that every browser should support it and wait for it. Give it something sensible and then make it better for the browsers that do support it. There's a great blog post by Jake Archibald which explains everything you have to know about picture element and source set. And it's huge and long and confusing, and that's actually what it is, but he's done a really good job explaining what it means. But in most cases, you should have a plugin for a content management system doing that for you. There's also a great website that my colleagues built when we supported it in Edge, which is using responsive images in a real-world scenario, which shows you also how to do your art direction with responsive images. So rather than just resizing an image and showing it in a weird stretched manner, you show parts of the image where it's applicable. It's a very nice interactive example how to use picture element and what it does to your computer. Yeah, I animated it here. So you can see the sizes. It all comes with code examples, so you can play with that one. The picture was painted for the article by the wife of one of my colleagues, so that was really, really cool as well. And WordPress already has it, and as far as I understood it, Drupal also has a picture element thing, so use that. Please, please, please use picture element. It will save you so much time and so much annoyance for me as an end user, because I never will get your retina image on my old computer, because I don't need to. Okay, automated tools for lossless image optimization. Lossless image optimization is a very interesting concept, because what it means, the image doesn't change visually. So it's not like a JPEG, you do like 20% and get all the pixels in the world in one image, but it means the quality of the image stays, but the file size of the image goes down. The way you do that is by analyzing the file system or the file type of the image and get rid of all the stuff that you don't need. Any JPEG that comes out of Photoshop, for example, has the version of Photoshop in there, where the picture was taken, if it was full moon, what pizza you had the day before. All kind of editors put lots and lots of stuff in the image itself that you don't even display on the web, so you don't need that content in there. So there's lots of tools to strip this information out because you don't want to give it away. Image Optim is probably the most optimized one. It's literally that. You take an image, you put it in there, and it optimizes the images for you, and when it's green, then it actually optimized it, and it overwrites the image. So it doesn't do anything that you have to copy it back or something like that. It just takes the image where it is, makes it smaller, and then you can upload it later on via FTP or whatever you do to your main site. And you see in this case, just images that I downloaded off the internet, 44% win, 62% win on some of those. So there was a 2 megabyte one that actually is the same because it's a GIF. But it's that easy. There's also a command line interface for that one. So if you want to do that in your build scripts with like gulp, grunt, barp, fart, whatever you build, that's already in there as well. So you can do that automated. You don't have to drag and drop it. But just having that on your desktop, and every time you finish an image, just dragging it in there is a very simple step to do, and it makes me happy and makes the internet happy as well. There's also file-level access on images to extract metadata, and that's a really interesting one. Not many people do that, and I want to give more talks about this, because EXIF data in the images itself can be very helpful for you. For example, the other day there was a Node.js demo on Hacker News where somebody said, like, okay, automatically rotate JPEG images with Node.js. And then the answer of that, it was a massive script that loops through all it takes a canvas and flips the thing around and then saves it back as a JPEG and these kind of things. JPEG has a header in there that tells you if it's actually landscape or portrait. So if it's displayed the wrong way, all you have to do is set the HTTP header and the browser will automatically flip it for you. So you don't even need to do that whole pixel optimization. But as people don't know about the format of JPEG itself, and people are not as crazy as some people like me who read these specs, there's a lot of information not known and not used. In 2006 on Flickr, no, 2012 on Flickr, we wrote a blog post back then about parsing EXIF client-side using JavaScript, and that is a really good good blog post to still read to find out what kind of information is in your images that you can use for your stuff. There's all kind of interesting things in there. The most interesting one, I think, is a thumbnail that a JPEG image has it. When you're in Photoshop, when you save a JPEG, it has a thumbnail inside it. So instead of loading the whole image, you actually can load the thumbnail and then load the rest of the image. I'm going to show that in a second. And this was another example that I wrote online as well, where you see now these images upload really, really quickly on Flickr. So I can go back to this to quickly show that. Like these are, you drag it into a browser. These are all like 6 meg images. And they're already showing up this quickly as JPEG, as thumbnails. This cannot be the image being uploaded to the server, resized, and actually shown again. So what Flickr does instead, it reads the JPEG and reads the first 50 bytes and then reads out the thumbnail in it and displays that thumbnail and keeps the reading going to actually load the rest of the JPEG. And if you slow that down and you look at it in the browser, you can see that the image shows up and that little icon, that circle thing, loads the rest of the image. And that can be done in 10 lines of JavaScript. So you can actually, instead of generating a lot of thumbnails that you never ever need again, you can just extract the thumbnail and keep that in your database as a file blob, and then you don't have to generate lots and lots of files and read and write to the file system the whole time. You can also remove EXIF data. I gave a talk about making social media social again and about security, where I explained to people that every photo that you take has geolocation on it. So you probably, when you upload it to somewhere, you don't want that to know. And I can actually look at your images and see where they have been taken, and that could be sometimes very embarrassing. So I wrote this thing called Remove Photo Data, which works completely offline, where you can load an image in, and then it removes the image data, the EXIF data, and you save it as an image again. Works on your mobile phone as well, so that's something to maybe think about. And the other thing I showed there is the display the location of a photo was taken, so you can drag and drop an image into it, and it shows you a map where that photo was taken. And it's quite amazing how many people don't remember that when they're actually sending images to you. I mean, I helped a friend of mine who got harassed by a guy who sent her things of his anatomy that wasn't that impressive, but he thought it was good to send that. And he had the JPEG location in it, so I went to his house and gave him a printout of his thing and said, like, you stop with that harassment and next time it's the police. And he's like, oh, how did you find me? And I'm like, because you're an idiot. You know, like it's just like if you actually don't understand how much information you put out on the web, it's super dangerous what people give out without knowing it. So fallback content is a very important part as well. Images take time to load. So there's nothing more annoying than a spinner telling me, oh, this image is still loading. So instead of loading the image and jumping around in your thing, the best way is to have a placeholder in there and load the image into the placeholder. AMP, that open source project that Google did for the fast articles, that is like instant articles on Facebook, does exactly that. You're not allowed to use any image in there without any sizing and without dimensions. And that's a very, very important part because you don't start reading something and then it jumps down and you can't see it anymore. So putting a background color there and then load the image on top of that is a beautiful experience, but nearly nobody does that. It's just a JPEG showing up sometime and a white background. So give something to people like, hey, something is coming, you can start reading, it won't jump around, don't worry about it. So how do you find out images in colors and images? Medium does a very interesting thing where they did this blur up technique, and that's basically a very, very tiny image that gets resized, the thumbnail of the image that gets resized to the full image and gets a CSS blur filter on it, and then blurs out when the other picture gets loaded. It looks really, really nice, and it shows you that something is going on. It looks like a progressive JPEG on steroids. The HTML to need to do that is scary, but I don't know what they're doing there. But with the technique that I showed you about extracting the JPEG, you could do that in like 5 lines of JavaScript rather than like lots of data elements, what they're doing there. I don't know what's going on there. You can also count the pixels and find out which color is the most prevalent one of them. This is when I went on holiday and I had nothing to do. I wrote a massive article about using pixels and creating pixels images. And what that one does, for example, you load an image in there and it shows you how many pixels are in which color. And that way you can actually say, okay, that should be the background color of the thing. and that's fine. This is the code, so if you want to take that down and write it down quickly, that's fine. Now, it's not hard. It's pretty much just, the cool thing about Canvas, it's not only a painting API, it also gives you every image as a pixel array. So you can do all kind of manipulations with that. You can read the colors, you can change the colors around, you can do really cool stuff with, if you think about a canvas as a pixel array rather than just as a bad painting API. There's also tools to do this. There's colorify.js, which is a JavaScript, a jQuery plugin, I think, that automatically gets the image and gives you like a gradient background instead of just one color of the image. This is cool, but again, think about mobile devices. Mobile devices and gradients are terrible. Like the repainting of a gradient on scrolling is sometimes very, very slow on a very low-end device. So think about, like, is it really worth having a gradient when just a normal color would do? But this is a nice little JavaScript to use that. Another one is Color Thief, which is really cool because you can do the kind of thing, you click on the image here in the demo, and then it finds out the dominant color and also the palette of the image. So that's pretty sweet as well. And that one has an API, so you can get that as a data set. You can put that in a database together with the image when the image has been uploaded. And that's the kind of thing I want you to think about with Drupal as well. Like, what can you do to help the maintainer to do accessible images and to make images that have a colored background and these kind of things? The more you can automate that, the more people will do it. If you tell people to type in alternative text, they will not do that. But if you give them something already to change, they will go for it. Now, intelligent image resizing by hand or with cloud services is something that is really, really cool. And it's pretty exciting how a lot of these tools came from Flash and came from Silverlight. And a lot of these things have been, for example, in SharePoint for 8 years. But nobody knows about it because we don't touch SharePoint because that's for evil people and stuff. But what this means is that instead of like having a resized thumbnail that just becomes a resizing of the whole image and you cannot see anything, you find the most important part of the image and then resize it accordingly. So this one here is using a cloud service right now where it finds the face of the lady and actually then first, okay, it says like, okay, it's the face of the lady, let's cut off the other side because these are the pixels we don't need. Then we actually centered it on the face of her to get the even better result. And then we actually move it to the other side because we realized the outline of the lady should be the whole image. So the second one is already good. The bottom one is first finding the face, centering it, and then finding the outline and seeing if we can match the outline of the most dominant element of this picture, and this time the lady, putting it in the page there. There's several services. There's Imagix, there's Cloudinary, and there's also Microsoft, yeah, I'm going to show it in a second, I can't remember the name right now. Google also has this TensorFlow stuff that it just announced, APIs coming, don't know when, but think about these things and think about creative resizing because you don't want to have thumbnails that are just squishy, colory things that nobody knows what they're about. People are not going to click on that. SmartCrop.js does that in JavaScript and shows you how these libraries actually work. So in this case, it shows you here that picture of a man, and it actually finds the color space in it, and then the outline of it, depending on what's the most important thing to do. That is a great example. It's also cool when you use it on the server in Node, but please never do that on the client side, because you don't know how fast the machine is that people are looking at your websites with. We can do a lot of cool stuff with JavaScript, but you're executing in the unknown. So never expect end users, computers, and mobile phones to be good. Just expect the worst, and you will be happy. Cloudinary has another great URL for that. It's a service that actually is a REST API. So you can say, I probably can't read the URL here, but you just say like color fill and keep it 16:9 and make it 640 pixels wide. And that's the image out of it. So basically, in the URL, you define how the image should be resized and what part it should be doing. You can also say center on the face, or you can say only show the lower part. So you have a URL with your images. You upload the image once, and you have a cloud-served, a CDN-based image solution then that does that. It's not free, but it doesn't cost much, and it's probably a good idea to host your images from there rather than seeing your own server burn up. So they have a great example blog post where they show how the resizing works across the different designs and also different layouts. So in this case here, it goes from the 250 by 150 to the 150 by 50 thumbnails, and it cuts the right image out as well. It just doesn't resize the stuff. And that's something you could do by hand, but why do you need to when you have machines doing it for you? High contrast tricks is an interesting one as well. So instead of just doing a match finding of the outline, all you do is change the image into black and white and find the most important outlines that way. So that's how Imagix does the resizing and finding the outlines just by seeing like, okay, what does the color picture do like? Same as if you want to do a hand tracking or something on a camera. Never try to analyze the color image, just take it turn it into a 2-bit image, and then you have the outline of your fingers very, very easily, rather than having a machine learning finding the images, finding the hands for you. Microsoft Cognitive Services is what it's called. That's a whole suite of artificial intelligence and machine learning APIs that you can use. I'm working with that team a lot because they're super intelligent and I have no idea how they're doing it. I'm always trying to get out of my comfort zone. And we have like this kind of image resizing cleverness. We have image analysis. We've got text-to-speech, speech-to-text, video analysis, finding out which presenter is in which presentation at what moment in a video. We have optimization of shaky video. So if you have a video from, for example, from a drone, you can upload that one and you get a straight image back rather than the whole shaky thing. There's lots of stuff to play with. They're free for 5,000 hits a month, and you can pay for more, but I don't know how much yet. And there's great stuff that you can do with that one. But the automated tagging is an important part. When you upload an image and you say your maintainers should put alternative content in there, you should not just say like, okay, please type something in, because then they say something, or image, or like header image and these kind of things. And for a blind user, this means nothing. They should describe the image. So it helps if you use a service like that to automatically pre-fill some of these fields and ask people, are you okay with this content? And then just take it over rather than people having to type it in themselves. So there's a feature analysis in the API, for example, that gives you an image. And in this case, it found that's a man swimming in water, 28 years old. And it gives you also the if it's an adult image or if it's a racy image. So if you have content that might not be good to show in the Emirates or something like that, it flags that up for you as well. And it automatically flags up content that is totally illegal. So we're working with Google as well, working with Interpol to actually tag child pornography pictures. So if you have a content management system where anybody can upload anything, those will automatically be tagged and deleted, so you don't have to look at that stuff yourself, which is a very, very good thing. It also finds the main color of the image and the fallback and shows you where in the image the face is, and the dominant colors and the accent colors. And you can see that, for example, in this one now, it found buildings and it's found a street, and it basically realizes it's grayscale. This one, the lady, it says it's racy, but it's not adult content. And that's a very important part to know as well. And it's pretty cool to have these kind of extra data just with an API call after you uploaded the thing, instead of having people having to tag that themselves. All this information is there. There's, of course, OCR. So if you have an image with text in it, you get the text that is in the image automatically from the API. So that is all available in this one. There's facial detection and recognition. That not only finds the face in images, but also gives each face that it's scanned an ID. So if you have the same person on another picture, then it will tell you, okay, that's the same person. So for example, you get this image catalog from one of your clients, and they upload all the About Us images. You can automatically tag the names of people in all the images just by doing a call to this API, much like Facebook does it as well when you roll over it and it's like, oh, is that your friend Steve? This one is also used for logging into Windows 10 machines, and there's also a W3C standard about using biometric data to look into a camera to access your website. So that one is coming as well. It's called FIDO, and there's great talks about this as well. So all this information comes from both Cortana and from the login system of Windows 10, and we just gave you APIs to play with it as well because people needed them. There's emotion recognition, which is really cool as well. So you can see if people are happy, if they're sad, if they're angry, if they don't find it fun. And the great thing about that one is you could, for example, take a CD of like stock images and automatically get them into folders with happy people, angry people, these kind of things. Of course, the other thing you can do with that when you do it on live video, you can do automated testing of your websites and see what people look like when they actually look at your website, if they're angry or if they're happy. The great thing of working with these APIs is that everybody in the office laughs a lot more and smiles a lot more because we keep testing the APIs. So that's pretty cool as well. And we put this on smart glasses for a blind friend of mine. So he can now sit in a meeting and basically video us in the meeting, and he knows who's sitting around him and what kind of emotion they have. So it's pretty amazing to give somebody sight using machine learning that way. Again, try it out. It's quite fun to find them out, and sometimes it's yeah, I want to do like hardcore testing, like go to Finland and see what emotions are. No, let's not. Okay, I guess that's more or less what I wanted to talk about. I just want to show you some of these demos that we built using these services if you want to play with them. And think about what you could do for a system like Drupal to use these APIs to make the things better that people upload. Because in essence, we just want to make it easier for people to do accessible content. So there's HowOld.net. That one got viral really quickly, where you upload an image and it tells you like what gender and what age the people on this photo is. And it's quite funny that I'm sometimes 20 years older and 20 years younger, depending if I washed my hair or something like that. And but it's pretty amazing what you can do with that, because it's most of the time it's actually quite there. I'm actually dragging my photo in here. Let's see what it did. Dun dun dun. 36. Okay, I take that. That's fine. MyMustache.net was really fun as well, because there we played really with the facial recognition, where we realized like, okay, it was in November when everybody was growing mustaches for charity. So we actually analyze it and we say how big your mustache is and compared to other people who's got the bushier mustache and who's got a better one. And then we donated money for charity doing that. So what we did is like we got the eyes, we got the nose, we got the mouth, and then we checked the color and see how much color was actually covering the face to see what kind of mustache you have. And if you don't have a mustache, then you can paint one on yourself using SVG as well, which was quite interesting to find out. Like my own one here, when I upload my picture here, I don't have a mustache, not anymore, I'm not that German. And then you basically say auto-tash me and then paints a mustache on me, and that was pretty fun as well. There's a long talk about how we built this thing, and the code is available as well. Another one was Twins or Not, which shows you the facial recognition and the detection of people. So in this case, I uploaded again my picture, and then I did a search for Pippi Longstocking and see how much we are actually in common. Because it was a talk in Sweden where I created this one, Pippi Longstocking, and it's like I think it's 17% overlay. Yeah, not this one. Let's take the other one. Yes. And then it shows you like how close you are to each other, and it's quite fun what you can do with that. And the coolest one we have right now is CaptionBot, and this is using the image analysis, and it's using the machine learning as well and also the language analysis and the language creation tool. I'm going to show you what that means in a second. So what you do with that is you use this photo, you upload it, and it analyzes it, and then it says, I think it's a young man jumping in the air on a skateboard. So we did the image analysis, we found man, age, and skateboard, and probably jump. And then we went to the language machine learning and said, like, make me a sentence out of this. Don't give me just the tags, but give me a full sentence out of this. And this is amazingly clever. There's one image on the demo site, which probably is, I'm offline right now, guys, which has 3 cows in it. And the normal analysis tools would say like cow, another cow, grass. That's what it would say. But the CaptionBot API, using all the other APIs, gives you, I think it's a herd of cattle in a field. So it realized it's one cow, that it's more than one cow. So it says, okay, what's the word for more than one cow? It's a herd, and as it's cows, it's cattle. It's not a herd of cows, and it's in a field because that's probably where cows are, not on the grass. So because you don't want your cows in your grass in your house, you want them in the field, and it's just. That's the kind of like extra thinking that scares me a bit, that like machines get so good in making full sentences. When you look at the demos of Google I/O with the next chat client that they're bringing out, that hello thing, I think in half a year's time, we're just going to throw words written by computers for us at each other, and we're just going to be the transport system for bots talking to each other. But it's quite amazing what you can do with that. And this one was very, very successful with my blind friend as well, when he can have the smart glasses take a picture of something around him, and then it tells him what it is. The biggest problem there is that there's a lot of shaky pictures because he can't see the photo. But we then take like 5 pictures and take the median of that and analyze the median rather than the only one image. I think it's up to us to keep the web exciting and usable for the next generation of users. And we do that by not overloading it with pictures, but we do that by giving them tools to describe imagery and only use it when it's really necessary, and by sending the right size images to the right users and not the biggest ones to all of them. And it's not about who is the prettiest, it's not about who makes the best website. I think the successful web products of the nearer future that are not apps are actually going to be the ones who perform the best, are the most accessible to all the users, and these are the users that are not bored of the web yet. These are excited about new things. And they're excited about interesting fallbacks as well. Again, at Google I/O, they showed a lot of progressive web apps. There's in Amsterdam in June, there's a progressive web apps meetup where I'm going to be as well, so it's a really good thing to go to. I love that one where it automatically realized that when you're offline in your data, it offered you a telephone call to call somebody to finish, for example, when you tried to buy something. So to think about the extra, go the extra mile in accommodating people on bad connectivity. There's lots of